Hello everybody, this is my first video. This is like 10th time I tried to make it, so let's get started. We're going to be talking about the different cultures of skating and generally the different generations of skating and how it might have affected the world. I might forget that part at the end, so I don't know why I'm even adding it. Let's get started. Okay, the first group of skaters were the surfers in the really late 50s, talking about 58, 59, and pretty much all throughout the 60s, and somewhat reached into the 70s, but then at that point they were starting to split. Surfer and skater started to become two different things. Still closely related, though. By the way, the dialogue is going to be shit because I didn't write this down. But at that point in skating was... I don't know why I said I. Skating at that point was really looked at as like, oh, the kids are just having fun. There's no problem with it. I'm absolutely sure skaters still got kicked out of places they didn't allow skating, but it was looked at as a kids thing. Many adults didn't really think that teenagers or even adults would skate in the future, and definitely they didn't think they could make a career out of it. But people like the Z-Boys and a really young Rodney Mullen proved them wrong. At that time, they were really learning how to carve on their board, not necessarily do tricks. And they were definitely learning how to do vert. That was the biggest thing in the 70s and the 60s, is that there were draining pools and they were skating them, which was really big. And at that time, freestyle was also a very, very big thing. That's when a lot of flip tricks and really a lot of like the ballet style motions, kind of like the pogo or basically manual bass tricks. Yes, and majority of the flip tricks came from the ollie, which I believe was created by Rodney Mullen, but no one quote me on that. After the general surfer culture of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, came the 80s with a bunch of skate punks, which were influenced by bands such as Suicidal Tendencies, Agent Orange, and a bunch of other punk bands that are really good and I recommend everyone check out, except for Green Day because they are shit, but they're even not even from the 80s. Anyway. Cat's attacking my door. Anyway, at that time, skateboarders really seemed to get kind of, I don't want to say thug, I would say criminal demeanor, because at that time they were still going in people's backyards and draining their pools, but people were starting to get wise to it, and they're starting to label skaters as criminals, which we definitely are. And like all groups, there's criminals, there's good and there's bad, but not all skaters are criminals. Now, considering this, skating was looked down at this point, but so was punk rock in general, and since those two usually roll together, even in today's society, and they were looked down together. So, now, moving on to the 90s, this is when everything seemed to be commercialized by the media. Of course, commercialized by the media. Can't go hand in hand. But the media realized, oh, there's this thing called skater culture. We can get on this with the X Games happening really soon, and with people like Tony Hawk and video games such as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater coming out on the PS1 in the 90s. I'm also including the early 2000s, 2000, 2001 stuff like that. They started to get into it, and it was like more extreme. Not the good type of extreme. The really cheesy 90 type of extreme that you see on, like, I don't know, like, what was that one show called? Not Family Matters. It's the one with the show with the Olsen twins. You see extreme on that, but it's always some kid with his hair spiked. He's coming out, like, straight from the 80s, even though I think they were trying to copy grunge culture at that time, which was very popular. He always has hair spiked, he always has torn up clothing, and he's always, like, talking about, yeah, that was rad, and even though no skater at the time really used that type of lingo, I use rad sometimes, but only as a joke. Considering this, skating that was, I believe, skating's lowest point, but it definitely did not die. Yeah, who knows? Maybe some people think that, oh, that was skating's highest point because we had great skaters at the time, such as Mike Valley. But I don't know. Now, moving on to today's skate culture, It's very much longboard based and pennyboard based. And just to clarify, I really despise pennyboards because I associate pennyboards with hipsters, and I'm not a big fan of hipsters. Most people aren't, but most hipsters don't assume themselves as being hipsters. Anyway, I really hate longboarding and pennyboarding. Longboarding to a lesser extent because I see more old people longboard. It's like, oh, you used to ride a street board? Okay, I can let that pass. But pennyboard, because every time I talk to someone who thinks they ride a skateboard, but they actually ride a pennyboard, they think they're really good at riding a skateboard. They really aren't. It's just pushing. A little kick push. And I don't know, it really irks me. It probably shouldn't be. I'm probably being an elitist asshole right now by saying this, but it really does irk me when they think they're so good at skating when all they're really doing is pushing. I mean, I know tricks, but I don't know that many tricks. I know I'm not the best at skating, but I definitely don't try and play it off like I know a lot. Well, in general, skate history, I believe I do. Not trying to make myself sound like a pompous asshole, even though I probably am. But I believe that skate culture right now is on a downcline, or on a decline, downcline, whatever. Now, some people may think it's getting better with certain companies starting to improve their products, such as companies like Bone seems to be getting really popular. They've always been popular, and improving their products and making skating a lot easier, and skating being really more open in society. You're seeing tons and tons of more skate parks now, even though a lot of them may be shitty, just like one or two ramps and some rails. And more people seem to be open to kids skating on their property as long as they don't fuck shit up. So, I don't know. People in the comments decide what's the best era for skating, what's the worst, and subscribe, like, favorite, or dislike. I really don't care. Fuck off. Bye.